Welcome to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. I'm your host, Boomer Esiason. Later on, we'll discuss how far the Dallas Cowboys will go. We'll look back at some of their great games over the past weekend, and then we'll look ahead to some great Week 12 matchups in the NFL. But first, let's welcome in our guest. It's Chris Sims. He's a former NFL quarterback, the lead analyst for Bleacher Report, and game analyst for CBS Sports. Chris, always great to talk to you and get your perspective on what's going on in the NFL these days.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, Boom. Always glad to talk to you.
All right, let's take a look back at the Thanksgiving Day game between the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys. We all know about the Dallas Cowboys, but I think one of the stories that continues to develop throughout the year is the play of Kirk Cousins. Now, everybody knows he's on a one-year deal, $19.5 million, and he's played great quarterback for the Washington Redskins. He's over 3,500 yards. He's got 20 touchdowns, and he's also completing almost 70% of his passes. And I think after the initial 2 weeks, Chris, he's answered all the questions. He's the unquestioned leader of the Washington Redskins. And my question to you, what is the alternative for the Redskins if they don't sign Kirk Cousins to a long-term contract?
There is no alternative to not signing Kirk Cousins. There is nothing. They're crazy. They can say all they want to say for this at this standpoint, but Kirk Cousins, it's official. He's proven. We saw it all of last year, and like you said, this year he's phenomenal. I mean, he's arguably, in that second discussion, that second tier of guys in the MVP discussion, in my opinion. That's how phenomenal he has been.
Chris, I did the Eagles-Packers game Monday night for Westwood One. The big question for me was whether or not Aaron Rodgers was going to go out there and play the game that he did, and whether or not Carson Wentz could keep up with him. Well, for the first half, he certainly did. Here's the thing about Philadelphia. You got a very bright future, as Carson Wentz showed me that he's going to be a legit big-time quarterback.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, beyond fine. I think he's going to be a superstar. I mean, he was going toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers the whole first half. His offensive line isn't as good as Aaron Rodgers. And listen, he doesn't really have any weapons around him to help him. This is not like it's Dak Prescott in Dallas, who has the best offensive line we've seen in 20 years, and Dez Bryant, who's a top 10 receiver in football. Carson Wentz is doing it by himself. So that was a very tough task against Green Bay to do that.
Time for our Twitter question of the week, presented by Xfinity. This one comes from @GavinShaw, and he wants to know, which non-division leading team has the best shot of making the playoffs? #BoomerBTG. For me, and I still think this team can win their division because they've gone on the road within their division, won two really difficult games, including last Sunday night's game at Denver. It's the Kansas City Chiefs for me. It's a grind for them offensively, for sure, but with Justin Houston back, and when they get Dee Ford back and healthy, this will be one of the best defenses that the NFL will see. So for me, it's the AFC West division that they still have a very good chance of winning, and I know everybody wants to talk about the Oakland Raiders, and rightfully so, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs from my perspective.
Yeah, listen, I like them a lot. I certainly I think they're one of those teams in that discussion. I'm going to go with the New York Giants because I think the New York Giants, first of all, they got players that have been in the playoffs, been in that Super Bowl conversation before. They're a little battle-tested that way. But the big thing for the Giants, when I look at it, I don't think they're out of the division race either. I mean, Dallas slips up one game. Here they will be only a game back, and I think they're one of the best matchups in all of football for the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, if you have a question for us, tweet at us with #BoomerBTG, and maybe we'll use your tweet on the show. All right, Chris, let's take a look ahead to some Week 13 intriguing games, including the Ravens hosting the red-hot Dolphins. The Dolphins come in all banged up on the offensive line. They should get Brandon Albert and Laramie Tunsil back at their tackle positions. Mike Pouncey, their center, will not play. Remember, the Ravens possess one of the toughest front sevens in all of football, so this will not be an easy game for the Miami Dolphins visiting Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is an old-school kind of matchup. I'm excited to see it. The big thing is the health of that Dolphins offensive line. They really need Albert and Tunsil to play because when they can run the ball with Jay Ajayi, it just helps Ryan Tannehill out that much more. You become one-dimensional against that Baltimore defense, it'll be really tough sledding, especially without those guys, because Baltimore's got more size in the front seven than any other team in football. Now, they're slow in the secondary, so that's where I say, man, if Miami can run the ball a little bit, force the safety to get down in the box to help out the run game. Man, guys like Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, I think they can run by those Ravens DBs. I think it's a very interesting matchup.
Steelers also get a very big test as they host the New York Giants. A lot of great games, by the way, this weekend in the NFL. Steelers bring in the best running back, in my estimation, in football, and that's Le'Veon Bell, also Antonio Brown. I do believe this will be a high-scoring game.
there's another game I'm pumped for. I mean, the New York Giants, first of all, I think this is a really tough matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really do. And if you made me pick a winner right now, I'm going with the Giants. I know it's on the road and Pittsburgh's desperate, but I look at it like this. If you study Pittsburgh over the last 2 weeks, Cleveland, and then on Thanksgiving night against the Indianapolis Colts, they've kind of changed their offensive philosophy. Been a lot of 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 tight ends, 1 back. They are power running the football and now doing play action, deep passing off of that. That's what you saw with Antonio Brown in that Thursday night game. So I think they're running the ball more to help their defense. Their defense is not very good. Their secondary is horrible, really. I think Odell Beckham Jr. can have a field day because they don't have a guy that can match him up man-to-man. And, you know, as you talk about Pittsburgh becoming this power-run football team, their offensive line is outstanding. But I don't know if it can block guys like Hankins and Snacks Harrison and Olivier Vernon and JPP all game long. There might be a lot of stalemates, but I have a hard time thinking Le'Veon Bell's going to go totally off for like 125, 150 yards. I think it'll be more one of those 23 carries for 95-yard type of games for him.
I think that if the Miami Dolphins and Baltimore Ravens are low scoring, this game is going to be high scoring. Look for both quarterbacks to throw for over 300 yards. And finally, Chris, quickly, the Patriots and the LA Rams. Jared Goff still going for his first win. Actually played a lot better last week on the road in New Orleans. Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does. He just figures out a way to win and always beats the Jets, it seems like, with a very impressive fourth-quarter performance. You know, he did not look good early on in that game. Now, the Jets got after him, and so one thing that the Rams can do is that they will hit the opposing quarterback. So depending on how stable his knee is, and how stable it's going to be going forward, this should be another physical game for the Patriot quarterback.
Yeah, certainly a physical game, but I just think they will overmatch this Rams defense in general. I don't see how the Rams can really hang in there against the run game of the New England Patriots, and, of course, Tom Brady throwing the football. The big thing, too, is I don't know why the Patriots didn't run the ball more last week. I understand that Jets' front four is legit, but to throw it 50 times and become that predictable, I think played into the hands of the New York Jets either. I wasn't crazy about the game plan, but Goff was better. You're right about that. I just don't think they have enough weapons on that side of the ball, and he's not experienced enough to win a shootout type of game with Tom Brady and all the weapons he has around him. It'll be interesting to see how healthy Gronkowski is, but, I think at the end of the day, you would agree, the Patriots are just in a different class than the LA Rams right now.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Chris, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much. Join us next week, everybody, when Bart Scott will be our guest right here on Boomer Between the Games. Thanks for tuning in to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.